Error occurred. Oh, we're live. Okay. Welcome. We are live. Today, Prince Andrew settled his lawsuit, his civil lawsuit with Virginia Giuffre. And with me to talk about it is my mother, royal watcher, royal expert, my mother. Welcome, Mom.
Hi, Roberta.
Thanks so much. Before we talk about this, I want to just play a clip today. If I can handle this amazing technology, hold on one sec. Of the press talking about this. So here we go.
That lawsuit against Prince Andrew from one of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers. What can you tell us?
Right. Well, we can tell you that lawsuit is now settled, according to a filing from David Boies, who's the attorney Virginia Giuffre. She was involved in a lawsuit with Prince Andrew. Her allegations included that he had sexually abused her on several occasions back in 2001. They just reached an agreement. It was docketed 26 minutes ago in federal court in Manhattan. They say in part, and I'm reading from the stipulation that'll be entered in 30 days, that Prince Andrew intends to make a substantial donation to Ms. Giuffre's charity in support of victims' rights. Prince Andrew has never intended to malign Ms. Giuffre's character, and he accepts that she has suffered both as an established victim of abuse and as a result of unfair public attacks. There's some other comments as far as victims of sexual abuse. They say the sum of the settlement is not being disclosed. So we don't know the specific number here. We do know that this lawsuit, which had become a point of embarrassment for the royal family, is now settled and will be dismissed, assuming all the payments and everything goes through within the next 30 days. It does not absolve the prince from I would say, a very rare request for him to provide information or to sit down with prosecutors for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, which just recently was able to convict Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Epstein's confidant, on 5 of 6 charges against her at a trial that wrapped up before the end of last year. So that is still outstanding. All indications are they would still like to speak to him, but from a civil standpoint, this matter appears to now be resolved.
Okay. So it's dismissed. Does that mean that this will be forgotten, do you think?
Well, I think it will be very hard although the public has very short memory, but we all remember Prince Andrew's disastrous BBC interview in 2019. So he put the first nails in his character, and Virginia Giuffre has kind of hammered it home. I hope we don't see him anymore. He's so arrogant and entitled, and really, really not worthy of his exalted station.
What do you think of that language that he's recognizing that Virginia Roberts Giuffre is a victim, but it doesn't go, it stops there. It doesn't go further and say a victim of Epstein, Maxwell, and Prince Andrew. It just says that she's a victim. And I find that as someone who watched Maxwell's trial, where the argument was, we don't say that these women were victims. They just included Maxwell after the fact. It seems like Prince Andrew picked up that same argument. We don't dispute that she was a victim, but clearly right before this settlement, we had his girlfriend from the late 90s Victoria Hervey saying that picture, once again, bringing up that stupid argument about the picture being doctored again, look, and false memories. So did that statement go far enough for Virginia Giuffre?
Well, what else would she be a victim of? I mean, she's not claiming she's a victim of trespassing or driving her car too fast. She is a victim of sex traffickers. And I think it's pretty implied. It may not be specific, but we all know what she's a victim of.
Well,
Everyone.
Michael Jackson paid out boys' families for years, and his supporters still say, oh, well, millions and millions. Oh, he was just naive and liked kids and just paid them millions because he couldn't be bothered. He just gave it out because he didn't really want to be bothered with improper and fake lawsuits. I mean, can he make this argument? That's what I'm always thinking about, the counter argument here.
Well, he can try
that argument anymore.
He can try lots of arguments. He's got a very weak case, and he did it to himself. So I think, I mean, there have been very few pictures of him and his family on Instagram since he was stripped of his title, and not the Duke of York, but stripped of the HRH, which they all seem to love. I don't know why. It seems rather foolish to me in this day and age. And all his military accomplishments were stripped from him.
So His Royal Highness, I'd like to be called His Royal Highness. Or Her Royal Highness, anything, his, her, whatever you want to call it. I think it sounds quite nice.
Your Royal Hiney. How about that one?
I'm sure you can think of lots of nicknames for me, but is that? I mean, was this? I think the disappointment is. You said that. I mean, how is the? I mean, is this a win for victims? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, she did get apparently quite a substantial sum for her charity, which is designated for victims of trafficking. So, look, the rich and the powerful always seem to squirm away from kind of justice, and we have to. I'm afraid it's always been like that, and it probably will continue to be like that. But she got something. And she certainly ruined his reputation. She certainly did that. I mean, the picture was so paramount, and then his disastrous interview.
Mm. Did she ruin him, or did he ruin himself?
Both. He ruined himself, and his judgment seems so flawed. He seems to make, his choice of friends is always very suspect. His business dealings would enhance his pocketbook. I mean, he's just the whole public saw what a person he is, and it's not pretty.
Mm-hmm. Has the royal family ever seen anything like this?
Well, there was
a scandal.
Well, there was Prince Anne's speeding ticket, and Princess Anne's dogs bit children in Windsor Great Park, and she paid a $500 pound victims compensation. And then Edward VII was in court, and that's around, oh my goodness, that was Queen Victoria's son, and I'm not sure. I think it was for cheating at a game. I'm not sure, but as far as I know, they've managed to not be involved in something like this.
Criminally, I mean, this could be. I mean, and they hint in that news, that media piece, that Prince Andrew will answer questions by the FBI that have been asking for years. Do you think he ever will answer questions?
If he can avoid it, I would think not. I'm sure he doesn't want to answer any questions, especially under oath, especially to people who are trained to ask pertinent questions to him.
That, I think, is the biggest loss, is that deposition for a trial junkie. I would have just loved those depositions, a civil deposition. you have 7 hours on the record. So they can go all day into the night, those depositions, and they can ask you anything and everything, bringing in other testimonies, other interviews. The BBC interview could have been brought in. It just would have been a fascinating deposition, and we saw Emily Mateus really be respectful and not push too hard, not ask too many follow-ups. Like, I really wanted her to ask what was he learning from Epstein? That's what he said. As a captain of industry, of what industry? So it just is such an opportunity lost, and I think it's a real loss for the truth. And I think people have a point when they say this story is being covered up, but I don't think it's being really covered up by design, just by the way things happen. David Boies is going to see a lot of money from this, or is going to see a lot of money from this. We saw in the Maxwell trial that some of the victims, except for
Annie
Farmer, whose lawyers all worked really pro bono, they got about 1/3 of the money, and their lawyers got most of the rest. So, does anyone have any questions? Right before this, we heard about Prince Andrew's maid came forward.
Yes, that was fascinating.
It said that he yells up. He doesn't touch his own curtains. He yells down or up to his maid to come close the curtains, and then he screamed at her if the curtains weren't closed correctly. But she also said he has a way that he has a collection of stuffed animals. This is a middle-aged man.
No, middle age, old age, honey.
Old age. All right, I'm being kind.
Going to be 62 at the end of the month.
And he yells at his maid for not putting his panther stuffed animal in there, and it moves from different times of the day. These stuffed animals have to move. Not only do they have a place, but they have to move certain spots. I mean, is that a kind of arrested development we're seeing in this prince?
You might say so. My corgi also likes stuffed animals.
Who would you say is smarter, your corgi or Prince Andrew?
That's a toss-up.
Anyone want to vote in the comments? My mother's corgi is pretty smart. I'm just saying. Here, we'll show the queen here for a second, in honor. But what kind of? Do you think that this is the end of the monarch for the?
Well, they've been trying to position themselves into having some purpose in life and to maintain their wildly extravagant lifestyle, with goodness knows palaces here and there and wonderful jewelry. I must say, I'm quite envious of the jewelry, but they're really irrelevant. They can take on charities and they can, visit the sick and the infirm. And, it wasn't people in Queen Victoria's time. She just signed documents and mourned her lost husband for 40 years. But after the First World War, they had to devise something for these folks to do if they were going to stay on their thrones. And so that's what they do. Camilla has cancer victim children's in to help her decorate her Christmas tree and this and that. But there isn't really a whole lot for them to do, except Prince Charles has tried. And people really don't care for him very much. He was a good environmentalist, but he just doesn't have the common touch. And there's hope for William and Kate, maybe. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. So, Libby says they've already been taken down, in my opinion. Nothing is as it appears. That's a little mysterious ending to that comment. I wonder what she means.
Well, they don't want you to see. We see the queen, but we don't know who she is. We know she's, we see them, but we have no intimacy with them. That's what I think she means. But good point.
I think we've covered. It's just so shocking for me. I was really looking forward to going to the civil trial, if there was a civil trial. It just seems like not a good time in New York right now to be a court going. And I think, and I really wanted to see this go to court because
I did too.
to answer all the naysayers saying this is all about money, like Maxwell's family.
Yeah. Well,
Any
it
other, the Queen
makes
and
the world
Charles,
go
wait,
round.
hold on. We have another comment here.
Okay.
There we go. It show. Does that show? Here.
Yes.
The Queen and Charles own most of the land, and in Canada and Australia. They have us, we don't have them. What do
I
you
don't
think
know if
about
they,
that?
I don't, they, I'm not sure they own land in Canada. They own a lot of Prince Charles owns a lot of land in Cornwall, and that's where a lot of his revenues come from.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about the land.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think this is a little bit, it's a bittersweet for me. I mean, do you feel that way? A little bittersweet ending?
Well,
I hope Virginia Roberts Giuffre gets some peace. I hope her charity does wonderful work, goes forward and does wonderful work. But this is really kind of the downside of our legal system, and it just in society in general. Rich people have advantage in all areas.
right,
So,
they do, but
what were you
very
going to
rich
say,
people.
Mom? What were you
Anyway,
going to say?
Roberta, it's just been fun to talk to you, and we'll miss chatting again because this is one of my interests, and Prince Andrew is hopefully will fade into a deep dark cave, and we won't ever hear from him again. But that's wishful thinking.
I hope so too. Thanks so much, Mom. We'll talk to you guys. We'll talk to you again. Okay.
Okay. Goodbye, Roberta.